Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and I just wanted to come on very quickly just to answer a few questions from some subscribers and some folks that have visited the channel. So thank you, first of all, for the positive feedback. So let's see some of the questions. Lady Bum 1016 said, thank you so much for your content. You're so welcome. Woven Psalm 139, she said, my lifestyle and thoughts are affirmed by all that you share, down to the plant apology. I'm thankful for your sisterhood. You're welcome. And then King Y asked, where can I get black soap from? So some places that I've gotten black soap from, usually I will order it in bulk. In my old neighborhood, I used to be right near a wholesaler. And keeping with just my vision of Afronomics and Afroflowernomics, I would see if there's anyone in your neighborhood, or if you can get any links to somebody that's ordering it in bulk from Ghana. Maybe some of the Afro or African stores that carry African print and black soap and natural products like that. There is, what's the name of it? Nicholas. If you're in New York and Brooklyn, they have it. There is a place called Medina that's a wholesaler in Brooklyn, and they also ship online. My first preference, though, would be to see if you can find it in bulk. And actually, a really good resource you might want to check, I think they may be ordering some items in bulk, is Ulu, which is Us Lifting Us, Us Lifting Us. It's an Afro folk-owned cooperative. So they're a financial cooperative, and I just remember someone inside of the, what do you call it, in the community chat, mentioning ordering things in bulk. So if you can get them from somebody African to keep the economics flowing, especially for folks that primarily use this and it's coming from the continent to get that kind of network going, that's great. And I think it's also something to consider that when we're purchasing from folks and purchasing in bulk, and if we're purchasing larger, just look and see if there's a way that the folks we're purchasing from can also purchase something from us, or to support our businesses or something, offer a scholarship or something, or maybe perhaps you all can come up with something else, but something in terms of thinking of reciprocity and quid pro quo, right? If somebody's asking for your vote, then you also require something. If you're shopping with folks, can you form a network, right? Or you just start to maybe perhaps keep your eyes peeled for a way that folks who you're patronizing can also reciprocate back, either by referrals, buying something from your business if you don't have a business, if you're requesting that carry something, and if you can start to do that with other people, that would be great. So you can also get it on Amazon, but again, if I have a choice between Amazon, Medina, which was in my neighborhood, then up level from that would be some folks that from a Afro cooperative that also have some kind of cognizance of circulating that economic. I think that would be most preferable. Let's see, I want to ask a question. Can I make oil for my hair from herbs? I'm going to research, but I'm getting to a place in my life I'm tired of spending money and being broke. Then you might want to check out Natural Beauty No products. So I put a lot of food on inside, fresh whole living foods, unprocessed foods, inside, and then my movement practice circulates around. And then also that's what I also put topically on my skin. So I'm tired of spending money and being broke. I want to stop being lazy and relying on other people or resources to get these items. So that's what I call Afroflowernomics. A lot of the things you say, but I just need a way to actually be about what I'm saying. I hope that made sense. You make perfect sense. I don't have all of the answers. I'm pretty creative and usually very resourceful. I think all of us are actually more resourceful than we think. So I think perhaps to ask questions, do your research in places will be frequent. Like, for example, there is Life Wellness BK in Brooklyn. Love Life Wellness BK. They have such a variety of products and natural products of a certain quality and standard. And so I know the proprietors there, they carry an excellent level of products. They're also into massage, and healthy living. So they're also an excellent community resource, as well as Nicholas in Brooklyn. And you might be able to reach them out to them on Facebook. So that you know, if they're not in your state, if you can't order from them, I'm sure they know the who's who of who carries what, and they can most likely refer you. So I really like the idea of starting to cultivate a network again of where we're shopping from and patronizing for our Afro flower grooming. In addition to, I encourage you to start to grow some things. So I'm compiling and writing something to go with the waist speeds training. You know, I have a lot of ideas. So some things that I think everybody can grow inside of your gardens, and you can have things to pull from your yard. Speaking of which, let me see, what's the other thing? Somebody else said, beautiful queens can go on reading book. Keep the videos fun. Oh, thank you, Bia. So I just went out to the garden and I just picked these. So I have a variety of, well, this is more of a top soy more than a bok choy. And this is one of my favorite greens. So my sister also picked a bigger bag. So, you know, when we marinate the greens and massage them down, they turn into a lot smaller amount. But I will say to you, just, you know, I can't always bring the camera out all the time because sometimes they're just these moments. But sometimes I get chills and I even get a little emotional when I just think of the fact that I can go out into my yard. It's not even a really big yard, but some people think it's massive because there's so much greens packed into there. But just the fact that I can go out in the yard almost every day and pick greens. Like, this may seem so simple, but it's like a dream come true for me. So I know it may sound corny, but hey, just when I think of food security, things that I've been doing for many, many years, where people used to laugh at me. I don't know if folks keep their ear to the ground when it comes to food security. I know what my sister and I have put into the ground, into the soil. So it's been a lot of work with weeding, watering. Sometimes if she's on another project, you know, dividing up the work, rainy season, hurricane. So I think perhaps we don't have an intimate relationship with the energy. I know we say food, but I invite you to consider the energy that we're consuming. And this whole fresh living energy is going to become a part of our brain, our heart muscle, our reproductive organs, our mood. This is what's going to nourish the brain cells so that we can have better and sharp, clear decision making. This may seem overly simple, but not even but. A lot of times simple can be very profound. So there's so much B vitamins, and these greens are they are so tender, right? Because these are some of the younger greens that we just picked. So the fact that I can go out to the yard and pick this fresh herbs, pretty much available most of the time. We used up our harvest of tomatoes, so I've harvested some of the seeds so that I can save those seeds and replant them. Not all the seeds make it. So it's so many, I find, profound lessons in the garden. I consider it's my church. It is the ultimate church because it's not trying to scam me. It's not trying to get in me panty. It's not, well, if it does penetrate in my psyche or trigger me, it's going to trigger me towards relaxation, towards being involved in the cycle of life, in contrast to just intellectualizing everything. And this is so therapeutic. So I would say, even if you have a small windowsill, and even if you have a room or an apartment or a house or a section, a place that you share, this to me is beyond words in terms of therapy. And I would even say the garden is between the garden and your movement practice are like an ultimate manifestation tool in such a very real sense. Because you can take an area, there's an area that I just planted with an adjunct area that looks like dead dirt, not soil. It hasn't been cultivated into soil, so it's very deficient in nutrients. But it's an area that can look so dead with just a couple of bricks. And just the other day, I was able to give 2 big heads of cabbage to some folks that were helping me to trim some trees, right? And there's some flowers that are growing, so it's starting to look dead like nothing. And so you can give yourself very real experiences of success. Success breeds success. It's like little babies being born, right? And you nurtured them and you cultivated them. So you really get a very real sense of appreciation. So there's such a large disconnect because I don't observe that we're fully engaged in the process of life, in particular in the cities. It's a pace that we're moving at. And I don't want to make it bad and I don't want to make it wrong, right? Any environment that I'm in, I'm going to make the best use of my space, resources. If that's a community garden, my food co-op, I'm the person, I hit the pavement, speak to people at the farmer's market, so I can find out what's on the ground. If that's vintage items, recycled appliances, used bicycles. That to me is a currency. Shout out to the Village House Gardeners group because we used to have conversations about a share economy, right? I know it's an age of a lot of individualism. Everyone's closed off, and some things may seem not safe. However, it's really something to be very intentional about where you put your focus. The focus, I would say, is the most precious currency out here because we're spending hours on these screens, engaged, transfixed, hypnotized, and while we're being marketed to, while we're being engaged in fright and fear. So this gives us something else to do, and you feel a kind of way when you're putting your hands inside the soil and your hands are getting dirty, and it's not the best. Doesn't really go with dragon nails. I usually say I have a garden manicure, but it's another type of calm that you can get, and calming down and serenity just when you're in nature. We talk about nature a lot. A lot of times today we intellectualize and there's so much rhetoric. When you're having an experience, it's something totally different. So I'm going to have these. I actually wasn't feeling very well. And I don't like to claim that stuff, but actually I will also submit I have not been feeling well. So I've just been allowing myself to get very quiet, and the garden assists in that. It's actually so humbling when you're not feeling well. You can be eating whole living foods and exercising and life happens. So I make it the effort to use every situation to help me get as clear as possible. So I could go into fright and fear, but I'm very intentional about not being in denial, but refocusing my vision and my thoughts. So I wanted to answer a couple of questions. And that's the other thing I was going to say. Definitely with the garden is so helpful. I find it quite often today, kind of if you think of a sleepy baby and they're fighting sleep. And when they finally go to sleep, the baby just, And today we're so hypnotized and transfixed by everything coming at the screen. I don't know, you may notice that you can have a hard time sleeping today or really going into a deep rest. And I would even say that a lot of the anxiety, it affects us in how we're consuming mindlessly. It's a lot of anxiety and fear. Again, sometimes I mention, just what I see in terms of the climate of all the finger pointing and the gender wars, and everybody's so upset, anxious, and angry. And it's interesting in the most practical way. When you can get quiet, and sometimes we avoid spending that time with ourselves. When you get really quiet, you would be amazed. It's like so much chitter-chatter and internal chaos. You'd be amazed at when your mind finally starts to settle down, it's just you, and you hear the creatures and the birds, and you start to notice the ants, and you start to notice the sun, the temperature, the sun is moving. It is a type of natural therapy. And the more you get quiet, I swear to you, in the most practical way, a lot of solutions come to you from your own divine, onboard, innate intelligence, right? So as I'm moving around in the garden, I'm just listening to thoughts like I wasn't feeling well. And I was thinking like, do I need greens? Like you can just start to hear. You can start to discern. Initially, I was feeling irritated, like rolling on the floor, just not feeling good, telling my sister I didn't feel good and drinking water. But was really nothing else for me to do holistically. And so that's an agitation, but just the quiet. allowed me to calm down. And then also, I hadn't eaten anything. I didn't have an appetite. I'm an avid eater, but I didn't even feel like eating anything. And my sister said, "You need to eat something." So I ate a little piece of avocado, and it's interesting being I haven't eaten anything. I didn't put any salt or anything on it. That avocado, I could taste the subtle sweetness in it and the texture because now the avocado pear, the rich butter pear is in season. It was so delicious, and I wasn't overstuffed, just a small avocado, and it was so satisfying, it's so satiating, and I love seasoning. I didn't need any salt. I didn't need any spices on it. It's moments like that. And people may not want to hear this a lot. As much as I'm a chef, gourmet chef, and I like seasonings and recipes, I find that whole, fresh, unprocessed energy or fuel can really be a gateway to another level, right? We're so anxious about giving up our pacifiers, right? And our vices and the style and the way in which we're eating and consuming. But you can get to a place of calm where you know that you've had enough without the extra stimulation and recreation, where you could calm down and you can discern. I don't know if this is making any sense, but you can discern sometimes it's not really the food that we're looking for. A lot of times we're eating and we're not hungry. Sometimes we may not realize we have a lot of undigested meals in the system, or being that digestion takes up such a tremendous amount of energy, some of the most energy of any of the life processes of the body. We don't have enough energy to process a lot of thoughts and stress. We're all over the place. So if we can just get to a point of not being overstuffed, when our cells are nourished, right? This is what we talk about a lot too in effective fitness and common sense nutrition Monday through Thursday at lunchtime. And I've even discussed this with my clients. A lot of times it's the nutrition. We need this much nutrition, but we don't always need this much calories because it's a lot of extra work. Sometimes it even can be a distraction or an agitation, right? And a fixation on food. And so when people over the years demanding I give them more and more recipes, they may not want to hear that it's not all the time we need recipes. Sometimes the simplicity, you would be amazed, the simplicity of a tomato or of a cucumber, without all the salt and the sugar. And that may be a place for us to grow to, just to experience the simplicity and the gift of the food, right? I would say the gift of silence in the garden, the gift of relaxation. At the same time, I recognize that we're very wound up and we have reality TV shows. I'm not going to make them bad or wrong, but they're feeding a certain kind of energy. They're feeding an anxiety. They're feeding a fear. In fear, we start projecting stuff onto each other, onto our significant others, onto our partners, onto our children, onto opposite genders. So there's a gift. I know, even though we fight it, and although the environment doesn't cater to it, there's a gift in silence. I'm not talking about cults. I'm not talking about religions. I'm talking about your own divine, onboard, innate intelligence and nature. There's a gift that awaits on the other side of silence. If we can just have the courage to explore beyond the anxiety. I can't even believe right now. Well, I mean, I say I can't believe. It's amazing. I feel so much better because I was in such pain. So I'm going to say this also to say, as somebody that's been very athletic in my adult life, done all different types of athletic things. It's easy to have an ego about your body. And one of the reasons why I don't always say vegan is you can really ego trip off of the labels. I'm this or I'm that. This is something I consume. This is something that I do. It's not all of who I am, right? And we can have a tendency to get very divisive into these different camps. Also, we can divide ourselves into these are the people that have perms. These are the people that have locks. It's too much. It's a lot of a function of the ego. And so it's been a journey, but I would say more and more. I have my preferences, but I've learned and I'm continually learning to give space to myself and give space to people in their own process and their own journey, respecting their journey, whether that's your children, people in the community. It's not my concern whether or not other people, put perms in their hair. People want to learn or whatever, or that I can't respect somebody because they eat differently or because they fix their hair differently. I don't know that we need that. I don't really know we need that, and that's not my main business. That's not my concern. I just know I'm here to share fruits and vegetables in the garden and movement. And when you're in pain or when there's death around you, it can really humble you as to what's important and to the reality that this life is not promised to us. Well, what is promised is that we will all take off this human suit and lay it down somewhere. So what do you want to experience while you're here? No, we're going to experience pain, physical pain, emotional pain, loss. Our bodies, with the best care, they're going to change, they're going to transition. So I think there's a lot to be said for making peace, making peace with that, making peace with that. So in any event, I'm going to go do something with these greens, and nice and light and easy to digest. So I just had some avocado in this. I don't want to eat too heavy, right? Because I know my body is healing, and I just don't feel like feeling heavy, which is interesting because I used to love heavy foods back in the day. I would eat till I had to open my pants up. So in listening to my body, I just don't feel to eat much right now, but I am going to nourish myself with some greens that I just picked out of the garden. So I just wanted to thank you all for the positive feedback. It's nice that some people appreciate this content. I'm just bringing it simple how I know to be. And the last thing is, when I'm not feeling well, I'm so tempted to take the scissors and cut my hair. When I don't feel well, I don't want clothes on me, I don't want jewelry, I want nothing on me. So I don't know if anyone can relate. If you're hot, nauseous, uncomfortable, that's a time where I can take and I can shave all of this stuff off. So the last thing I want to be concerned with, it just reminds me, the last thing I want to be preoccupied with is my hair. If I have rollers in my hair, if I got to, I'm not a priority. Play is a priority. Freedom to be able to move my body through space is a priority. Feeling light is a priority. This is a priority in it being carefree. I do not want to think about my hair. I should not have to. If I want to play in it, that's the option. But when I'm not feeling well, last I'm thinking about is rolling on some rollers and dyeing and breakage and all of this and products and oil on my pillow. I just want to relax. I want to relax. So I invite you all to take a moment to just appreciate that you have a working body temple. I know we ignore the kidney, the liver, the spleen, and not as popular as the skin and the muscles. I invite you to make deposits into your relaxation and into your body's 401k so that you can have some longevity for things that you may not be thinking of that are likely going to come to pass. I know we don't think about it. Greetings, greetings. I know there's a lot of things you don't think about in your 20s or when you're out having fun. You don't think about accidents. You don't think about menopause. You don't think about dis-ease. You don't think about genetic expression of the stuff that's not so good in your gene pool being expressed in the fluid of Little Debbie's and cigarettes and alcohol. We're not thinking about that. However, everything we ingest, we shall have to pay the tab for. Nobody gets over. So I invite you this evening to go into a deep, deep rest and to allow your body to really rejuvenate itself, to just make space, make mental space to have a really, really, I know I like to say a lot of times, create a great day on purpose, but I also invite you perhaps just to consider before you go to rest, being very intentional about getting a deep rest. Because when you can't sleep, then perhaps sometimes we can appreciate rest. But to go in and plug in, just like we're plugging the computers into the socket, to go in and rest your body temple and to rest your mind. To rest your mind. So there's ambient music. There's a piece that I like called the happiness frequency. You can find that here on YouTube. I don't know if it's a couple of hours, an hour or two of ambient, what do they call it? Not trance music. Can't think of the name, but it's ambient instrumental music. Some people use it for sleep or study or relaxation, but that's one of my favorites, called the happiness frequency. Let me know if you find it on YouTube. Again, there are also 4K videos shot in high density of the rainforest, underwater sea creatures, gardens. These are things, if you got those big old gigantic flat screens that you can put on to just change the tempo of your environment. So you entice yourself in the backwards to relaxation. I'm telling you, relaxation is the one. And you don't necessarily need to ingest or be dependent on so many chemicals or ingesting anything toxic in order to relax, to need so many physiological crutches, if you will, that could potentially, some crutches, sometimes we need a crutch in life, and sometimes, maybe quite often, a lot of times, some crutches can weaken us when we become too dependent on them. So I'm going to go make these greens. I invite you to have a really, really good rest this evening. Go and rest your mind and your soul. Because when you just think of how much you need to do to relax on yourself, then there's less time to be fighting with other people and to care about what other people are doing with their hair. I usually only want to look at other people as an inspiration to see what are the possibilities for what I could be doing, especially folks that are 80, 90, 100 living their best life. Social media, though, today it's almost like built in that you can find yourself comparing yourself to and thinking somewhere in the back what I haven't done, or I'm not here, or I haven't arrived. You're right where you are. So y'all have a great rest of the evening. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're new to the channel, do check out the puppet series, about 9 or 10 episodes of Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better on this channel. There are some playlists on for fine hair and acne, that journey. There's some living foods, jam sessions. If you go back, there's gardening, and as well as there should be some exercise videos here as well. Lunchtime classes are common sense nutrition and efficient fitness. Cocoon, for those interested. And Thambika, I will be getting back to you. You can reach out to me for the Cocoon. That's a space of going in. It's like, I'm just over all the stuff. I want to go in and focus on me, on living foods, getting to the bottom of my consumption patterns, my eating patterns. I'm making some real lifestyle changes. Those are done in the wee hours. For a minimum of 7 days. Is there anything else? There's also natural beauty, no products, and whole living foods in the hood. So if you want the guide to what I have been doing, right, and compiling 30 years of information, kind of like thinking of everything that people could ask me, or I wish that people would have told me, that's in the guide, Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. You can download that guide on body-culinary.com if you're interested in coaching and setting up your movement practice and your personal movement studio. You can feel free to contact me, info@body-culinary.com. So yeah, have a great rest of the evening, and I will see you soon. I have another remedy for pain, bay leaves tea. So I have some bay leaves. I will try that. Most plants, I will definitely try that. Thank you so much. And I have been using the cloves and peppermint. If anything, I need to do a nice Epsom salt soap. I'm overdue for that. So y'all have a great rest of the evening, and I will see you soon.